we go.
Let's do this.
Here comes all our friends. And then I'm gonna start upgrading people to just allow to talk. There we go. Allow to talk, allow to talk, allow to talk, allow to talk.
Hey,
Because
everybody.
this is a
Welcome.
group discussion.
It is a group discussion, and yes, we have slides, but we want to hear from you. It is a open live chat where we're talking about artificial intelligence.
I was at your room. Hold on. I was promoting
Oh
people.
my.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. And if you want to come on camera, I think we can do that too, right? Just raise your
Um,
hand and I'll bring you on camera. Happy to do that.
Promoting everybody to panelists is really probably the easiest because I did allow to talk, but
Yeah, but some people don't want to be on camera, and then I feel like that puts undue pressure on them. So raise your hand if you would like to come and so we can see your shining face, your shining, smiling face. We've got lots of friends on with us today, and we are live on Facebook too. So hello, Facebook land. We're very excited to see you.
all right. So if somebody raises their hand,
I
I
guess no
don't,
one wants to be on camera. We may just start out, we just may be promoting people because, that's the whole spirit of this. I'm gonna promote, should I promote let's see.
the answer is yes.
Should I? I feel bad. No one's
Yeah.
raising their hand.
Oh, well, okay, fair enough. Okay, so Heather, let's introduce what we're doing first. And
Sure. Tiffany, I knew I could count on you, Tiffany, but I didn't want to just do it. So I'm excited. She was the brave soul to join us. So yay. Hey
cool.
Tiffany, how are you?
Hello.
I am excellent. How are you, ladies?
Good, really good. It feels like
Nice.
fall here in New England. Yeah, I went for a hike this morning and it was absolutely lovely. Just crisp fall air.
Well, no, I have not unboxed any of my fall decorations, but I bought new ones. So I have a few sprinkled throughout the house, and I love this time of year.
Me too. And I have a rogue. It's funny, Megan Tarnow, she tagged me in a post from 2023. I have a pumpkin patch in my yard that I did not plant. It must have been somebody threw away a pumpkin or something in my yard, and it's huge too. Thing is enormous. So
Hmm.
I haven't seen any pumpkins on it yet. I've seen things eating the pumpkins, but they haven't turned orange or anything yet. So
That's
I don't
called a
know.
bunny buffet.
It is a bunny buffet for sure.
Sounds adorable. I want a bunny buffet.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, so I'm going to share screen, let everybody kind of hear what we're doing. Tiffany, stay. Anybody else who wants to be promoted just like Tiffany, raise your hand like she did in Zoom and we'll promote you. Otherwise, Heather's right. It may be rude to promote you if you don't want to be, but
Yeah.
it is an open discussion. And so I'm going to share my screen to let you know what we're doing. AI everywhere. In fact, we were talking to somebody today that said AI has thrown up all over us.
They did. They did say that today.
They did, and I was like, well, I mean, I guess it did. There's good and there's bad, and I don't think of throw up as ever a good thing. So, but this is a discussion. So, what we want to do is just talk about AI technology. Really, some of it is obviously touching our firms, and so that's
Mhm.
part of the focus of this conversation. But really, it's also just how are we handling it in general. So that is the focus of today. Everybody here knows Heather and myself. Heather, I'm just going to skip it.
Yeah, no, I'm all about skipping it.
And our apps, we always thank them because we wouldn't be able to do this without them. And huge shout out to Zero because they make a lot of this possible and they are doing big things. And we do have an upcoming Zero episode where they just had their Zero Con, and they're going to be sharing what happened in the Zero Con and what those releases are.
In Brisbane, which I
Yes.
called Brisbane for a really long time,
Tiffany's shaking her head.
but it's Brisbane. Yeah.
um, Heather, you want to go through the agenda?
Sure. So we're going to talk about the rapid rise of AI. It really has been really, really fast. And I have a couple things to say about that when we get to that. Real world use versus hype. So what is actually working? What's not working? What does it mean when an app says it has AI? It's AI enabled. Daily roles, AI is already playing in our firm. So how are we actually using it? What the opportunities and risks are, including ethics and self-awareness, which I think is not talked about enough. And then we want to hear you. We're going to do the open discussions at the end, but really we want this to be a conversation. So we want to
Throughout.
hear and we'll have the chat open. So if you're not comfortable coming on camera or speaking, that's fine. Just throw it in the chat, throw it in the Q&A, and we'll be your voice. But we're also happy to have you come off of mute. You've all been allowed to talk, and if you would like to come on camera, just raise your hand, and we'll make sure that we make that happen for you.
These are one of my favorite episodes whenever we have everybody just chime in. So, the voices in our profession are what guide us.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So I love hearing them. And really to just kick us off is we're here in this AI evolution. One of the things that I get a chance to do is work with a lot of apps, and they're incorporating AI in places where it's behind the scenes and in places where it's very obvious. And I think that they're doing that intentionally to be able to lean into people who really want AI built into the solution. And so that it's, here it is on the platter. And then other people are AI adverse. So they're doing it in a way that doesn't feel any different. It's just part of the search engines.
So,
So we're here.
I mean, we've been here. Here's the reality, Liz. Artificial intelligence was invented over 50 years ago. So artificial intelligence has been in the applications that we've been using for a long, long time. I mean, how long has Siri been around? It's just the different types of AI, which you and I have discussed on, previous episodes. And what's happened was, in my opinion, is that, and what you're talking about is they're priming the market, right? So that's
Mhm.
exactly what these tech companies are doing is they're priming the market to see how open we are to have this AI in our face and how comfortable we are to see what they can disclose. And a lot of this AI is already out there. It just is, and it has been. It's not as new as we think it is. What's new is when Pandora's box was opened 3 years ago, and ChatGPT hit the mainstream, and people were able to actually start interacting
Yes.
with it. So I think that's the thing that we're starting to see is like they're starting to kind of uncover it and celebrate it. And also it has ramped up, but I think that a lot of this infrastructure with some of these apps has been coming for quite a long time. And I think, it is just gonna the reason we're seeing this big hockey stick like faster than we've ever seen it before is because it was there. It was just
Mhm.
like somebody thinking, okay, when do we push the button? Right. And the button's been pushed. Pandora's box is open. We're there.
I like this question here, and I'm gonna pose it to everybody. So feel free to either come off mute or throw your answer into chat. But Tiffany, I'm gonna call you out because you're here with us. So before we dive in, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel about using AI in your daily life?
Are you putting me on the hook here?
Oh yeah, you're the hot seat.
Um, hmm. Confident? Well, I mean, I use it. So, there's that. I guess it's a mindset for a lot of people is just getting in the habit of it because, as opposed to sticking with the old way of doing things is look for a newer way of doing it. So I'm confident in it, but I'm very risk adverse as a CPA, obviously, and just very mindful of the ethics behind it. So I guess I
And
didn't give it a ranking, but
well,
that's what
that's
you're gonna get from me. Maybe an 8.
maybe an 8. Okay, all right. So I heard you say in your daily life you're incorporating it in the firm. Do you want to share like what examples? How are you incorporating it?
You know,
ChatGPT or
oh,
Copilot? Or...
100% ChatGPT for sure. Perplexity as well, for reference, that sort of stuff. Um, Gemini, Notebook LM, like everything is just, just different case uses of using it, and just like, I should have tried that instead of, going into Google, and okay, Google automatically throws Gemini up there for me, and that
Mm.
sort of stuff. Yeah. And then just even like looking at and being cool with Copilot popping into my spreadsheets and stuff like that. And just, but being aware of what data is actually being shared there. So that's kind of where we are. The cool part is I'm actually doing a certificate course for CPA Ontario, and we're going to be teaching benefits of AI and other tech enabled audit procedures. So yeah, so it's cool. I mean, the conversation's there, and a lot of the big, the CPA firms and the big CPA organizations here in Canada are talking about it. And, but there's still so many people, like part of our discussion for this course is that, people are still looking at ways of getting data, and you're like, but use AI, like stop take a PDF and manually key it into Caseware, stop that,
Yeah.
so just even that stuff.
Well, and the way that you can interact with AI and you're talking about ChatGPT and Copilot, those are the two big ones that I think a lot of people have exposure to. Boy, they're in heavy competition with each other. And you just talked about Excel, which cracks me up because if you haven't seen it, for everybody here, Copilot we use in our firm because we're Microsoft based. Excel and Copilot kind of suck. But what's really funny is that ChatGPT came out and said, hey, utilize ChatGPT inside of Excel. And I think that there's more functionality at the moment with formulas and things that you can do inside of ChatGPT with Excel than there is inside of Copilot. So we'll have to see how that competition between the two continue. But I thought that was a really big egg in the face to Microsoft.
Yeah, I actually have a project set up in ChatGPT that just helps me with all my Excel stuff, for complex calculations and stuff.
Yeah, I find that fascinating because Copilot right now is just lagging behind whenever it comes to Excel. Hey, Kim, you just came off of or came on camera and so join the conversation. How do you feel as far as comfort wise?
Oh, thanks for having me. Hi, friends. So I use Chatty G as one of our members at Woodard likes to coin the term a lot. I use it in course development. I learned it in research. I don't Google anything anymore. It's all ChatGPT at this point. And dabbling a little bit in Perplexity as well, kind of testing the waters and seeing how I like it better. So using it a lot in there, doing a lot of like data compilation as well, making even some slides sometimes. It's really helpful in me doing a lot of the grunt work, as it were. And so that's kind of how I'm using it day to day. Yeah, it's become an essential for me now. I don't think I'm ever gonna go back to just Googling. I just can't. That line has been crossed.
I I agree with you, Kim. I mean, it's part of my daily life too, both in my personal life as well as in my professional life. So I lean on ChatGPT heavily for almost everything I do. And I'm just like you, I turn to it before I go to Google, right? But I do the same thing for my personal life, like when I'm looking for things, even just recommendations for a recipe, quick
Or
things.
having a recipe. If you need a quarter or a half
Yeah,
of a recipe, it's great for that.
it is. It is. So I think it's just, you're right, getting into the habit, to your point, Tiffany,
Hmm.
of just knowing that it's there and using it in that way. One of the earliest personal uses that I saw was several years ago when our good friend Caleb Jenkins had posted on social media that he was using it to create the itinerary for a trip he was taking. And I just thought that was brilliant. But what I love about it is it continually surprises me. And that's the cool thing about it, is you give it something hard and you'll be amazed at how good it is.
I had this cool experience on a personal level. I was out with a friend and they have severe food allergies. And so I actually used ChatGPT on my phone, took a picture of the menu, and I said, where of concern is there in this menu? And this is the severe anaphylactic reactions that this person has. And they went through the entire menu and said, okay, this and this would include an ingredient that could be, and it was just, she was just like, what? I'm like, right. You wouldn't expect that. You'd be like Googling, what is this chemical, what is in this spice or whatever. And now you could just literally take a picture of the menu and put it into chat and just do it and have a conversation with it.
Well, and some of the AI, like I was out on a hike this morning and took a picture of a mushroom and it was able to tell me what kind of mushroom it was. So that's AI. That's, really, really cool stuff. And, it's cool. My stepfather is a scientist and he was telling me that there's actually a version of that app where you can take pictures of wildlife, of plants, and it actually submits it to research. So, I don't know the name of it. So now I'm going to have to look it up and let you guys know.
Well, the
What
chat GPT. Yeah, there you
ChatGPT
go.
will totally tell me, which I totally stole from you, Kim. I call him Chatty G too. So
You call it
I
what?
Chatty G.
Give props to Natalie Brown. She came up with the term.
Okay.
So
All
Chatty
right.
G is what we call it affectionately.
affectionately. That's great. I love that. Um, you were talking about recipes and coming up with things, and I was sharing in chat a thought about Deborah Kilsheimer. But my dad has got one of those refrigerators that if you hit a button, it will change the screen and you can see inside the refrigerator. And so he can be at the grocery store and he can take a picture of his refrigerator and then knows what he's out of. So he doesn't do any type of grocery list or that kind of thing. And it makes me think about, could you combine what Deborah Kilsheimer is doing, which is saying, here, create a recipe based on the ingredients I have on hand in my dad's refrigerator. Like if that's not already in existence, I would imagine that that's going to be here soon.
That is so cool. I have Sherry Lee Mathers actually. She and I were going through something the other day. She did a inventory list for a client. So they took a picture of their storeroom in the restaurant and she said, give it a list of the inventory and the current value of such inventory because they had to do an inventory calculation and it did it. And it did
Wow.
the whole list, listed everything, and then the cost and the everything, the measurements on it. It's like cool. And I'm like, okay, well,
Wow.
I want to take that one step further and I want to do net book value calculations on my capital assets based on the PDFs of the assets being purchased and what the current value is based on the accounting policy for depreciation. Like super cool stuff.
That is really cool.
Wow.
It's amazing. Yeah. I have to say, I have to tell you guys a really dumb story. There's two dumb stories. I just bought a house.
I want to hear Heather dumb stories.
Yeah, I have two Heather dumb stories that are related to AI. One actually did not work in my favor. Um, one is so dumb. And the other one's kind of dumb. Actually, they're both dumb. So the first one
Heather,
was,
safe space.
yeah. No, it is a safe space. So the first one, it's cool what happened. So, but it just shows how dumb I am. So I was coming into my house and I saw that the light was on in where the bulkhead to my basement was. Right. So there's a door there. I was like, oh, the light's on. So it's the end of the day and I went downstairs to shut the light off in the basement. So I went down to the basement, shut the light off, and I went upstairs and I had been out in the paddock with my Crocs and so my feet were dirty. So I put my feet in the tub to wash them before I went to bed. And all of a sudden my water turned off. And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, great, I have no water. So I go downstairs to my water pump because I have a well. And I'm looking at the water pump and there's no pressure on it. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? So I'm like, Chat GPT, pull out my Chat GPT. I'm like, I have no water pressure. I don't know anything about water pumps. I'm a new homeowner. And so it's asking me to take pictures. The thing started leaking. So it was leaking. So I'm taking pictures of all the things. And I did take a picture of the power switch that was above it, right? And I put it all in. It's like, okay, we're going to check this and this and this. And so we went and we And we checked all the things, and it had me turn off the power, and it had me turn off, all these things. And it was like, you're going to need to call a plumber. Like, this is probably what happened. I'm trying to figure it. I'm like, that's great. And so I go to bed and I looked up plumbers, but I had it look up plumbers. I had ChatGPT. I'm like, can you find me a plumber near me? Of course it could. So it gave me a list of plumbers, or well experts. And so anyway, the next morning I come downstairs and I call the well people, and they come and they're there. And so do you remember that light switch that I shut off? Yeah. So the light switch that I had shut off was actually the water pump. And so it was
Oh,
very, and I did take a picture of it, and I remember looking at it saying, hey, that looks like it's in the off position, but ChatGPT will certainly see that it's in the off position and that it is the power switch because it says water pump right on it. But it did not. So we both got that. So there we go. And the second one was, I was painting the door to this office, and I took the
oh
doorknob.
yeah, this one you told us last
Did I
time.
tell you last week? So I won't tell it again. Yeah, the locking in the office. And I was able to get ChatGPT to save me from being locked in the office. And the windows in the office are too small. I would never get out of them. So it was a good thing that I had ChatGPT to save me, because I would still be in this office.
I think that's great. I love it. Well, I'm gonna take our conversation in a different direction, and I'm gonna share this one. So, since we're in an open discussion, I think it's interesting to hear all the ways that it's ChatGPT and Copilot and all the various different AI tools that we're incorporating in our lives are helping us. But our question is, what's one AI trend do you believe fundamentally will change accounting profession in the next 2 years? And that could be for good or it could be for bad. I think it's open to wherever you want to go. And Tiffany, I'm going to put you on the seat again. You shake your head no. Kim, okay, it's you. You get to go first. And then Tiffany, I'm calling on you.
I'll save Tiffany this time. I'll go first. So yeah, Michael put in the chat digits and puzzle. I really do believe that our GL work is going to change dramatically. How we interact with the data entry portion of what we do will be revolutionized. And so I know I love doing reconciliations. I'm sure everybody else does. It feels just kind of like a warm, fuzzy, comfy thing for me. That's going to be a thing in the past. We're going to have to find a warm, comfy, fuzzy thing elsewhere. So I think that's the big thing that I am actually looking forward to, because that I think is going to help us upskill. It's going to make us more relevant, and it's going to create a space for us to be more intentional about building relationships with our clients.
I could not agree more. I agree with you 100% that I think that the AI built GLs are where we're headed. I think that there's GLs out there that are catching on, and they're trying to incorporate some AI into it. But I think these GLs that are really built with this AI mindset and platforms, I think that those are going to change the way that we input data, we review data, and then we deliver that data. And I think that the one who gets to the finish line the fastest in helping us with the client deliverables, the conversation, is going to be the winner. Tiffany, what's your thoughts? You came off mute.
Yeah, I did. I come off mute because you're putting me on the spot. I don't think we're ever going to hit the finish line, to be honest. I think it's always going to be a natural progression with that. I think what it's fundamentally going to change is how we learn and what we learn and what accounting professionals are going to be doing in the future. Because I think a lot of the base data is going to be available to us, and it's going to be a matter of sifting through it and digesting it and coming up with business strategies. So I think it's going to fundamentally change us as a profession.
I agree. I agree with you, Tiffany. I think that we need to be looking at what our education it looks like. and where it needs to be based on, you know, what AI is capable of doing now and what it's going to be capable of doing in the next 5 years. I think if we wait, we're going to have a real problem on our hands of folks coming out with a college degree that isn't going to serve them at all. And I believe I was actually talking, I was at a Zoho event last week, and I was talking to several people. We were talking about this needs to actually start, I believe, in middle school, that they need to be talking about, you know, the technology, but also the basics. I think that we can't let AI change the need for us to fundamentally understand personal finance and how that works and how it affects our daily lives. And that, I think that's the big, you know, kind of scary elephant in the room is, you know, we've got to make sure that we don't rely on the machines to take over the analytics that we need to, the understanding, right?
Mhm. You know,
Yeah, we still need to develop our critical thinking skills, right? We can't allow
Oh,
that we can't allow intelligence to like mitigate our intelligence, right? And I think that's where like ethically we need to really be looking at our profession and because already a lot of the students coming out are missing those critical thinking skills because they are depending on, you know, intelligence and everything else as opposed to like, does that really make sense?
mhm.
So,
It's interesting. My daughter, she's in her senior year of college. In the first 3 years, didn't have AI included in it. In her senior year, which for her is 3 semesters, so she really has had this big dose of the change of tone in her coursework has really incorporated more AI into it. And she's journalism marketing is her degree. And so that's an area that there's a lot of controversy. So when she first started, there was this, yes, AI existed, but there was stay away from it ethically. You know, journalists, that's part of art. That should not be an area where AI is incorporated. And now that's came full circle, and they're talking about how do you include it and what does that look like? And so it's interesting to see from a college perspective, you know, just how quickly that tide has turned. And education doesn't shift quickly. So I think that that's an area that, you know, government and AI don't move fast, or sorry, government and education don't move fast. And so for them to have adopted AI so quickly, I think is a big warning flag to us all.
Liz, if I can chime in, I agree with you. My husband teaches at a design school. And so their usage of AI and how they go about using it is very interesting to me from an ethics standpoint, right? Because there's a lot of talk also. I'm a big board gamer. For those of you who don't know, I love modern board gaming. And so use of AI in the illustrations or the game design and the development is very much talked about in the industry. And what really we should allow and what we should allow and what's okay and what's not. And it's very ambiguous right now. It's very up in the air. And so I think we have to be really cognizant of how we engage with it. And I think it's the same thing. I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but when the internet really got big and we got the computers and we got to teach our parents how to use, you know, Internet Explorer and Windows 95, we engage with information differently. And I think
Mm.
we're going to have that same kind of development here with AI as well, and how we engage with the information, how we feed it, how we interact with it. And so I think to that standpoint, we really do need to be very cognizant of what we're using it for, how we're using it, and then being very transparent about using it as well. I think that's a key indicator that we need to really talk about in our profession and others as well.
And it's such an ethical dilemma too. It's like, you know, yes, we need to give credit where credit's due. So we should be giving some credit to the help that we're getting from GPTs. But I also think there's this huge lean into, if you're not learning AI, you're going to be potentially, you know, I don't know what you call left behind or jobless, unemployed. You know, it's like if myself, if I had two different team members that I went to hire and one was AI adverse and the other one was like, I'm learning and absorbing as much as I can, I'm going to pick the team member that I think is going to have the most value to my team. Oh, Heather, you're on chat, yeah, on mute.
I think Kim hit the nail on the head. It's the transparency. It's
Mhm.
I'm using AI. You know, for example, we use AI I write articles for the Woodward Report, and I use AI to help me research. I use it to help me structure sentences, but I disclose it at the bottom of articles that we've used AI. We very clearly say this article was generated by AI and reviewed and edited by a human. We're not hiding it. We're letting you know. And if it's written by just us, you won't see that, but we do rely on it. It does help us. It makes it, you know, it helps us to create more content that benefits our community. Um, so I think that that's the important thing, is
Mm,
that you're not passing something off as, you know, created only by you, that you disclose to others that you're utilizing the tools.
100% agree. And Murph made a comment about critical thinking, that humans are going to struggle to keep up in the critical thinking department, where AI is just fast. That's what it does. And it
Mhm.
takes in everything that it's absorbed, and it processes based on the information that it knows.
You know,
100%.
the other thing I just want to say is it still gets it wrong. I used it
Right.
this
Oh yeah.
morning and it was wrong. It was
Yeah.
wrong. And here's the thing is I know it was wrong because I'm an expert, right?
Mm,
But if somebody
Because you
was,
have critical thinking skills.
yes,
Mhm.
and my years of experience, right? So I think that's the danger. And I really, when they first started coming out with some of these accounting apps, advisory apps, you know, that were direct to consumer,
mm,
it made me cringe because they don't know. They don't have that experience, and they don't have the critical thinking skills that you're talking about, and all of that knowledge to know whether it's correct or not. And so
Right.
that is scary.
Yeah. So I agree with what Murph has said, that definitely it's going to be faster than all of us, but that doesn't mean that we should not continue to hone our critical thinking skills. You know, we will never beat a machine in anything,
Thank
mhm.
goodness.
but I also don't want it to beat me, right? So
Well, and I agree too. What Michael just posted is that prompts matter. So, in we're talking about critical thinking, but I also believe that if you don't know the right questions to ask, you're not going to get good outcomes. And so I think that people who interact with a lot of these AI tools, that's one of those tips that I think many of us could give, is the more specific that you are, the more that whatever model that you're using, you interact with, the more it's going to learn you. And you can even ask those different models, give me help with my prompts. What should I do? If you're not really sure the types of prompts that you should create, you can ask it to help you to create those prompts. In fact, I wanted to think about an ebook that I'm creating right now. And so I went to ChatGPT and I said, help me think about what should I start to build on for my outline. And so, it talked about your audience, what's your purpose. It really made me outline that part first, not just what do I want to talk about.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to keep us moving to a different question. So, AI in accounting. I think that, AI is moving from back office helper to frontline partner. So 74% of accounting firms say AI is already embedded in their daily apps. And I really kind of want to stop there and really talk about the apps that we're using right now. We've talked about some of the GPTs, but what about the other apps that you're using in your firm? Are you actively seeing AI in those?
I can actually talk a little bit. I went to the doctor's office today, and very clearly in a sign, it's saying that this doctor is specifically using AI to capture notes so that they can focus more on the patient relationship and interaction than they are with documentation. I thought
Uh,
that was really interesting. They are disclosing it. And I'm all for it. I use that a lot in my coaching as well, right? So the AI is tracking the notes for me so that I don't have to worry about documenting everything. It's right there. I can review it. I can go and do a summary. I can put it in ChatGPT and tell me the highlights. I can do so many things with that and still engage with the person that I have on the other side of the screen.
Heather and I earlier were talking about Jeffrey Hinton. He's somebody that we have a slide that we'll talk about in a little bit. But one of the things that he had said was AI can help with doctors' diagnosis, and he was saying that it can help 3 times faster to get to a diagnosis. It can help to 3 times faster get to a place of being able to prescribe the right formula or medication or combination of therapy, whatever. And one of the things that he was saying was there's never going to be a limit to the amount of healthcare that people need. And so if we're using AI in those kinds of places, that will better us as a society.
100%.
I'm reading what Chet
So
has said.
you were the last question. Can you put the last question up one more time, Liz?
Uh-huh. Oh, this one was just, I didn't have the actual question printed out on the slide. This
Oh,
is
you
just,
didn't? Okay, gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha.
this is just really the apps that you're using right now.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing? Are you seeing AI embedded in those?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was playing around. I've only used it once, but I was playing around with the new reconciliation feature in QuickBooks Online, right? Where you drag over the bank statement and I couldn't wait. So I was like, I just went through because it was, but I was playing with that. So yes, am I seeing it embedded? Is it behaving the way that I expect it to? No. But yes, I am seeing it embedded in the apps that I use.
I know. My gosh.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's right. Yeah,
Yep, everybody's face here was like, huh?
I know. Yeah.
We all
Um,
got you there on the bank feeds and yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's, yeah.
One cool thing that I will say is I was going through for a client and I was catching up 2.5 years of bank reconciliations. One of the cool things that it did was it was predicting what the beginning balance was going to be. That was pretty cool. It wasn't always right. But what cracked me up is whenever I got to a new year, it was like, have no clue. So it was able to predict the next month in the current calendar year, but not a new year.
I have to wonder, Michael's sharing that the bank feeds are getting more stupid.
Well, we've heard a few
In the
comments
newest version of
similar.
the AI in there. And, my first thought, and I don't know this to be true, so this is just my first thought was, are we starting from scratch again? Right? Are we training it? I mean, we've been training, I'm pretty sure we've been training bank feeds all along, but are we now starting over with a new?
Kind of feels like it.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah.
of feels like it. Yeah, I have to
Um,
admit, so I have a chat with Intuit folks in the
Mhm.
background. I have given them so many videos and screenshots in the last few days on all the AI stuff that's going on or not going on. And they're all over it, which is nice. So they're bringing in a whole bunch of different developers and designers and stuff and trying to figure out what's going on with it. But it's like they said, what is it? Artificial idiot.
I understand.
It kind of feels like that a little bit. That was from Murph.
That's funny. Well,
I
that
think
kind
it's
of leads
kind of like true, but okay.
it leads me into this next one. It's like, so is it working or not? Is there a lot of hype? And so the question is, what's one AI feature you've seen advertised that feels more like marketing than actual solution? And I think y'all are hitting on one right now. This is the whole reason I bring that up. But I would say that's kind of everywhere at the moment. And Heather, I'll just start here. You were saying a couple weeks ago that um, was it MVP most viable?
Oh, minimum viable product.
There we go. Minimum viable
Yeah,
product.
not most valuable player.
No,
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 it's minimum viable product.
it is
Yeah.
minimum
What can we
viable
stick
product.
out there that is going to kind of work?
Yeah, that's going to kind of
And then
work.
we
That
can increase our fees for.
yeah.
Mhm.
Is it gonna, and we can get quick feedback from our users to find out if it's something that they're excited about, and that we can invest dollars in, or is it something that, we need to shelve?
Well, I think so. Tammy just asked that question. She was like, "So are you hanging out and waiting on QBO, or are you moving on to try other apps?" And I can say for myself, I've invested so much time into QuickBooks Online that it's a hard thing to move on. I think that because of some of the marketing and as closely as I've worked over the years with Intuit, I have a personal feeling that I need to try and find solutions that aren't marketing directly to outphase me or devalue my profession as a whole. So I think it's important for myself to go and look at other solutions, but that's my personal feelings.
If I might, Liz, I think you hit it on the head. We are beholden to what the market can do and the speed at which they move. So if small business owners aren't willing to adopt new technologies, new GL, new other things that we are using, what does that look like for us? Do we have to stay with QBO? Is there a transition period where we do have to get people comfortable with using AI? And are we only using it for some things and not others? I think that's a really poignant question that we have to ask ourselves, because like you were saying before, education and government move so slowly. Well, small business can also move very, very slowly because they're very hesitant. There's a lot of unrest and non or difficult information to find sometimes on AI, and people aren't adopting it as quickly as I think we are, for sure.
Yeah.
So what does that look like for us? Do we, right now, I feel like I'm speaking for myself personally, I'm in a very dysfunctional relationship with QBO, but it's the one that I have right now. So until I can find something better, I'm kind of sitting here at the moment.
I hear you, and I even see Jean your comment about Xero. And so Xero has been something that's, in 2025, Heather and I made a commitment to explore, and we've been pleasantly surprised. And I will say too, at the beginning of this conversation, we were talking about the AI GLs. That's another area that we are very actively exploring because I think that to your point, Kim, that we're at a place right now that our clients are willing to adopt something different because AI has opened the door to more. And if we can get these tools where we need them to be, I think that there's going to be an adoption. Oh gosh, Heather, what am I not reading? Your face.
Sorry, I'm so
What did
sorry,
I
Liz.
miss?
It's Murph's fault.
Comedy
Blaming
gold in the chat right now. Comedy
Yeah.
gold.
Prenup.
I'm sorry.
Who do we talk to about a prenup? I think they're all fair conversations. Well, you can't like laugh and then dump. You gotta share, Heather.
Oh yeah, so Murph Murph put in the chat. Unfortunately, none of us realized that the end user license agreement with Intuit was actually a prenup. I just thought that was funny. I think we all thought that was funny. Anyway, yeah, I think with other apps, we're seeing some, like the expense apps, for example. I use the expense apps and, when I'm given a demo, it's like, it's going to recognize everything, but it doesn't. In fact, I would say it feels like, and this is probably biased because I'm expecting it to recognize everything and categorize it correctly, but it feels like it's getting it right less than 50% of the time. So I do expect that to get better, but I also understand that if we don't use it, it's never going to get better. Right.
Right.
So if because that's how AI works, right? We have to use it and teach it what correct looks like. And so if we don't ever use it, we can't teach it. So, I think that we will see these getting more and more reliable soon, as long
Mhm.
as we use it.
I agree. I mean, we are like what you said, we're teaching it and we are starting not from zero again, but we are starting from a place, we're talking about the bank fees, from a place that they're pulling in new tools that are available now. And so we are retraining it. And I do think that um, there's a learning curve with any of the tools that we're utilizing.
I was at the Zoho Balance event last week in Salt Lake City, and they did an incredible presentation on small language learning models. So, and how much more effective they are. But and they're cheaper to implement, they're cheaper to run. But my guess is that they take time to develop, right? So, but those were really interesting. I learned a lot. Um, about those, and I'll share an article that I read that really explained why they're better. But the pool of data is smaller, they're more specialized, and one of the coolest things about the small language learning models is that they can be local. So you can have them in a device like a smartwatch or something, and they can actually, you can be using the artificial intelligence without the need to go out to the internet, which is really cool. So that, and it's more secure, right? Because it's local,
Contained. Yeah.
contained.
It's something that I think a lot of us don't really talk about or discuss or consider is what the cost of AI is to our environment.
Mm-hmm.
So we play around and it's like, oh, this would be cool if it would just generate this little picture for me, and what will my front door look like with blue or something like that, but not understanding that the processing capacity that's behind it is burning the heck out of our environment. And
Mhm.
is it really ethical for us to be just, no, I just want to see what color my chicken coop should be this year,
Well,
versus like actually using it for, okay, life and death situations and business modeling and stuff.
so what Kim is not telling you is that picture behind her, the water level used to be all the way up to the top, but then AI was used and it's
Like a toilet flushing.
we're boiling
Oh,
our oceans
oh,
essentially. And
Yeah,
but one of the
we
things
laugh.
that Tiffany that does make me, I know I laugh, but it's not funny.
It's not fun.
One of the things that I've talked to some of the different apps. If they are building their own LMS, that is utilizing less resources.
Correct.
And so it's doing that thing like you were just talking about, Heather. It's containing it into a smaller environment, which means when you ask it questions, whenever you're accessing that database, you're creating a smaller um, impact on the environment.
Mhm. It's sustainable.
I would also question too, if you're using that smaller model, is it easier to make sure that the data integrity is there, that the biases are not included, that it's more,
Yes.
holistic in its nature? I think that's a really important question to ask as well.
I agree. And where I want to take the conversation next is to talk about your team. So, how are you handling AI oversight within your firm? Many of us here are firm owners, and we've got people who work with us for us. And so, are you doing things to talk about what's ethical, how you're handling client data? So, how are you including your team in AI adoption so they don't feel threatened or overwhelmed? Because that's another aspect of it too, is not everybody wants to embrace it with open arms. So does anybody want to share? And Glenda, I see that you're over in chat and you've come off mute, so feel free to chime in on the conversation. Are you doing things to talk to your teams about, for us, we wanted an AI use policy. What is okay? So we put some things in writing. And when I first went to go look for one, I couldn't find anything on the internet. So we had to create our own. And, it's been a little over a year now that we've had something in place. And so I'm seeing more that's available, but Randy Johnson, he was somebody that I reached out to because I was like, I want somebody to look over our AI use policy. What are we not thinking about? And he's got one that's a template that's available, I think, as well. But is anybody doing anything that's written and documenting with their team what they're allowed to do?
Everybody's too quiet. I feel like I have to call on people. I'm just
Well, I think that this is maybe a warning to us too.
It
Mhm.
is.
We're all in a place that it's moving so fast that we haven't, as a firm, been able to keep up. So, one of the things I can do is I can share our AI use policy, and that way everybody can at least see what we're doing and then adopt it to what works for you. But I'll put that, maybe I'll write an article and I'll just share that on our website.
Yeah, no, that'd be fantastic, Liz. There's so little regulation, right? So it's kind of the squeaky wheel, right? If there's not a need or a threat, people put it to the side towards other things that are a bigger threat. So until we have solid regulations, I think people will be less inclined to invest resources and time to solve that problem. So kudos to you for being proactive. That's the right thing to do.
I agree. I actually spoke on this. I did an ethics in AI use, generative AI use. And that was the big thing, is having a policy and best practices to make sure that people know what is okay and what it's not okay, right? Because if we don't clearly define it, nobody's going to know. So the
Mhm.
policy and the adherence and making sure that we're holding each other accountable is really important. And just making sure that you have the most up-to-date information, because it does change so quickly. I think having an AI policy is great, but it's going to need to be curated very, very often, I think, at this point. So that's going to be, I think, the challenge for us.
One thing that I would say to those here, if you do not have a firm ChatGPT account, get one.
Yeah.
People are using it. And if you're not providing one as a firm, then they're getting their own. And so one of the nice things about having a paid subscription is you do have some protection that's built in there. There is a little bit of a wall to be able to say, don't share our information. And so that's one place that I would recommend to begin. It's $20. It's
Right.
not expensive. Open it up to your team.
100%.
Agreed. Yeah, and there is a toggle when you have the paid button. Make sure that you're using that button and that they know where it is.
You want to share more about that for those who don't know?
I thought you already talked about it. Sorry, I dozed off
Yeah.
for a second. Yeah, the button is that you can choose in ChatGPT to share your, basically share your prompts and anything that you're generating with the model. And if you have a paid version, which is what Liz is talking about, and that's why you want it, is that you can actually select that it will not share your information. So essentially, you're putting up the guardrails to say anything I put in, any prompt I put into ChatGPT will not be shared with the model. So it becomes not, it's not public. So, yeah,
And Copilot has that built into it.
it
So if
does. Yes, you
who's
don't have
using
to.
Copilot,
Right.
we have it's essentially a closed system. So we're able to access any documents that's inside of our Microsoft environment, Excel documents, even though it doesn't do much with them. But, Word documents, you were talking earlier about creating PowerPoints. Copilot does a fair job at doing that. It's not perfect. I still think that this sucks. But Heather and I are doing a Copilot versus ChatGPT episode coming up. And so Heather's got ChatGPT, I've got Copilot. I am going to have to get really clever, y'all.
Yeah, well, both of them just released their agents. So that's the thing that we're both going to have to start playing with. And I just got access to the Copilot at Woodard to play with, which I actually had Copilot at Heather's at Satterley Consulting too. But so it'll be really interesting to see. I've been blown away. I did a podcast episode with Byron Patrick, who is just brilliant. One of my deep automation buddies, and the stuff that he was talking about on that podcast, you're definitely going to watch for it. I think it drops tomorrow. Really, really cool stuff. So after he was telling me about the agents he was building, I'm like, okay, well, I need to, you know, spend late nights learning more on how to do this stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. And even Jason Stats came out with some videos about using Copilot in a way that replaces Zapier.
Yeah. Yeah, Zapier is going to be, and Zapier has agents too. So it's going to be, that's the next big wave. So, and I'm way behind. I'm way behind. So I feel a need to catch up.
Heather,
I don't
agree.
think anybody here is behind. I think we're all part of the conversation. I think that's part of staying current.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, Liz.
And maybe dedicating some time too to making sure that you are learning, maybe even just 15 minutes a day, do something new, right? Learn a new prompt. I think that's really what we need to do is just make sure we have some dedicated time to that.
Yeah.
100%. So, I think that one of the people that keeps popping up on my news feed is Jeffrey Hinton. And so for those of you that why he keeps popping up on my news feed is because he is, an AI godfather. And he just recently won a Nobel Prize in AI. And he gave this warning that talked about AI agents as being, well, as a being. And so he was talking about that there's a 10 to 20% chance that AI will become aware enough of itself to realize that we humans aren't necessary. And so he gives a couple of very chilling warnings. And one of the things he talks about is that there's not enough guardrails on AI. And he talks about that it's moving so quickly that there's going to be employment changes. That, we were talking about it earlier, the information pollution. So too much bad information into some of these databases equals bad information that's coming out. And one of the other things that even Murph, you were talking about earlier, the critical thinking piece of AI, that's where it surpasses human ability. So, the question is do you believe we'll hit a point where AI will become self-aware? And, whether or not you believe that it might, what does AI mean for humanity in general? So I'll kind of pause it there, and Kim, I'll pick on you.
Okay. I am a
Go.
lover of sci-fi, so I mean, I'm just going to preface it right there. Do I think that we could be in a world of trouble? Yeah, I do. I'm very much hoping that we can get things in place soon enough where we don't have this huge battle on our hands, but will that happen? Probably not. We're humans. We are, we love our homeostasis. We don't want to spend the extra effort or whatnot to do extra things. So just human nature, I feel like we will have issues.
I think we will have issues too. And Heather, I see the article that you just popped into chat, so I'd encourage people to go check that out. But even for myself, at the beginning of 2020, well, as at the end of 2024, we stopped outsourcing and we moved into an area where we can use AI instead of outsourcing. And so those are jobs. Those were 5 people's jobs that we were able to replace with AI. So whenever I think about, is AI going to take our jobs? Not all of it, some of it. And Murph, you would put into chat that the AP clerks are going to go away. That's a job. So that's a bunch of people's jobs that were hired as AP clerks that aren't necessary anymore. So I do think that we're going to hit a spot where jobs just look different.
You're right, Liz. There's Daniel Susskind is going to be speaking at Scaling New Heights 2026, and his book he's going to be talking about his newest book, which is A World Without Work. And so that's really his premise is how do we exist in a world where the things that gave us purpose, no longer exist? You know, it's a big question.
It is a big question, and I can't wait for that conversation because he's the same author as the year that there was Tame the Machines, and I have a son who he's big into quantum computing, and whenever he was just 11 years old, the year of Tame the Machines, sat on the stairs and cried about it still chokes me up that he's scared. He's like, Mom, we're going to get into this place where humans aren't needed. And so I want him to come to this conference to be able to hear, okay, the same guy who talked about Tame the Machines is also now talking about where do we go from here? What do we do? And Heather, you just gave me a good place to jump on from here to say
Yes,
there is
thank
a
you.
survey. So
Yeah, please. So we do an industry survey every year, and we're doing one on artificial intelligence and how accountants are using it. So if I could ask you guys to just, I'm going to go ahead and find the link and drop it in for you. So, and if I could just ask everybody to fill it out, that would be amazing. So, and we will be publishing a report in November with the results. So if you guys don't mind doing that, I'm just going to grab that link for you.
absolutely, Heather. Thank
Ready.
you.
Sorry, everybody.
And I'll just keep going because
Yeah,
we're
please.
at the top of the hour. And so this episode and all of the other ones are available on YouTube. And again, thank you to our sponsors. And I will say that what we're going to be doing next is talking to Xero. They're going to be sharing what their latest feature announcements are. And then Heather is going to be live at Intuit Connect. So that's right around the corner. So there's going to be more goodies that are going to be announced at that show. And then Heather and I are going to have fun with a showdown of ChatGPT versus Copilot. And it's going to be something that I'm excited for. We'll put them head to head. And I for sure, oops, sorry, y'all. I for sure am a ChatGPT and Copilot fan. So it'll be a fun one.
I think it's going to show how both really can be used in different ways.
Yep. And
Hey,
in different
Heather.
environments.
Sorry, I just tried to click on that link for the survey and I got a no healthy upstream message.
Ooh, hold on.
I don't know if that's because I'm in Canada. I don't know.
No, I got it too.
You know, I got
Okay.
the same thing, so I'm not really sure why.
Oh, Michael said he got the correct page. Michael, can you
Yeah. I'm gonna
maybe
throw
paste in there what you got? Okay.
I got the same thing.
It worked for me.
Okay.
Thank you for calling
Thank
that out.
Thank you everyone for doing that for me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, and watch for we'll have a report coming out and some articles.
Maybe we've crashed it. Too many of us are clicking on it at once.
Maybe, who knows?
Well, thank
it.
you, Tiffany and Kim, for being on the hot seat. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. I think these kinds of conversations just do nothing but propel us forward.
For sure. All right. Take
Survey's
care,
working.
everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.